Good day. On December 13th, on the sidelines of the Ukrainian authorities, the following rumors, gossip, insiders and opinions were discussed. Rumors. The source reports that in Odessa, due to the negativity in society against the authorities, officials decided to use their favorite life hack, war. And they stopped dedicating society to the case of repair and restoration of energy resources, so that people could not even understand whether the authorities were doing something or not. The real reason is that the authorities are not able to solve the problem in the energy case, which means they will not communicate with people, reporting to them. Keep quiet and be patient until the uncle official deigns to make you light. There are no specific dates, which means there is no responsibility. Whoever protests is an agent of the Kremlin. Convenient formula. We think it will be introduced everywhere if it goes wrong in Odessa. Once again, the authorities are directly hinting to people that problems are only growing. Stock up on everything before it's too late. Backstage rumors. On the sidelines, there was a commotion. The office of the President of Ukraine began to open criminal cases against everyone who did not join their team and did not come to the back office in Parkovy for a talk about cooperation. The cleanup will be tough. They will find everything for everyone, and if they don't find it, they will bring it with them. Many saw this as a rush, as the elections are close. Inside. The source said that Zaluzny made a big report at headquarters on the situation in Bakhmut and asked Zelensky to withdraw troops from the city, following the example of Severodonetsk and Lyzhansk. In the summer, this made it possible to maintain the combat capability of the armed forces of Ukraine, for the future counteroffensive in the Kharkiv and Kherson directions, and now the Bakhmutov meat grinder grinds the best units of the Ukrainian army and leads to a drop in morale among the soldiers. But the office of the president requires Zaluzny to keep Bakhmut at any cost in order to prevent the surrender of the city. On Bankovaya, they try to delay as much as possible the moment when they have to retreat, since the city has become a kind of symbol, and its loss alone can informationally cancel out successes in the Kharkiv and Kherson regions, especially in the west, where the demand for peace negotiations is growing. Gossip. The office of the president is afraid that in 2023 Western military assistance will run out, and Europe will increasingly insist on any peace. Officials are already publicly saying that in the future the EU will completely stop transferring weapons to Ukraine. At the same time, the shortage of ammunition in the armed forces of Ukraine reaches 50%. This is especially felt in the air defense and missile defense sector. Opinion. The government of Ukraine is trying to create a feeder for itself. Almost a year after the start of the big war, the cabinet of ministers suddenly submitted to the Rada two seemingly simple bills on preferential taxation. The bottom line is that for the period of martial law, exempt from VAT and import duties the importation into Ukraine of goods necessary to implement measures aimed at repelling armed aggression and the life of the population. But, as in a joke, there is a nuance. There is no list of goods in the bills. Because what kind of goods these will be determined by the cabinet itself. All that remains is to wait for the flow of walkers from various business areas so that the cabinet of ministers does not forget to include the necessary goods in the list. Opinion. The war will go on for at least another year. Then Ukraine will have to sign new peace agreements. Yes, every war ends with this. The sooner many understand this, the fewer Ukrainians will die and there will be devastation that will have to be rebuilt. But no one will give us money for this. Don't have any illusions that the West will help Ukraine. Tomorrow the conditions of the game may change. Back in January 2022, Zelensky could have fulfilled the Minsk agreements and nothing would have happened. Now the country is in ruins, hundreds of thousands of dead, billions of loans, destinies destroyed. The future is all in the fog. Alas, this is the bitter truth. It is very difficult to hear it, and everyone who talks about it immediately receives a stigma from Zelensky about the agents of the Kremlin. Everything is very simple. Zelensky benefits from the war, which personally brought him only profit, fame, his whole family is safe in the EU and provided, and what did this war give you? Opinion. Bakhmutov meat grinder. The attack on Bakhmut is by far the bloodiest episode of this war. A large number of wounded, a video of the destroyed city and the withdrawn 93rd Mechanized Brigade speak of heavy losses on both sides. Opponents are called rested. Zelensky does not want to admit defeat after the bloodless successes of Kharkiv and Kherson. Prigozhin demonstrates to the Kremlin that his orchestra is capable of breaking into a prepared echelon defense. The city is being systematically wiped off the face of the earth. In general, the situation in Bakhmut demonstrates the transition to the next, more destructive stage of the war. The troops of the Russian Federation are now also digging in and fully entrenched in the occupied territories. Rotations of Kherson, some went out, others went in, apparently. This is bad news, both for personnel and for cities, from which no stone remains unturned. Rumors. The source says that some of the Western financial assistance goes to salaries and bonuses for Western instructors who are in Ukraine. Do you think PMC Mozart participate in the Ukrainian crisis for free? Previously, many PMCs participated in the Ukrainian game, each pursued its own goals, even Ukrainian oligarchs paid for their participation at some point. Our source indicates that ordinary Ukrainian military and Western PMCs do not like each other. Reason: some can take and leave positions and not even warn others. Such cases have already happened. The second reason: money, provision and service. PMCs are mercenaries, they pursue the goals and objectives of the customer. Layout. The office of the president has finally passed the media law. Bankova was lucky because of the war to take control of the media sector of Ukraine, which now does not threaten them in any way. Fully controlled. Now the office of the president is preparing for the post-war times, creating a foundation for itself. The bill on media is needed not for now, but for later, when the real internal felling begins. Zelensky and Yermak are preparing for the elections, which means they need to clean up everything and everyone. Opinion. Losses near Bakhmut. Since December 2, planned hospitalizations in hospitals have been suspended in Kyiv for an indefinite period, by order of the Kyiv City State Administration. The reason is not specified, it could be attributed to the energy crisis. In fact, the Kyiv hospitals are overflowing with the wounded coming from Bakhmut. According to an eyewitness, a journalist of the largest Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera, only one hospital evacuation center receives up to 100 heavy military APU per day. The nearest points of final evacuation of the wounded are Dnepr and Kharkiv. And, judging by the fact that Kyiv has suspended planned hospitalizations, even capital hospitals have been accepting the wounded since the end of November. Already from this we can draw a conclusion about the huge losses suffered by the parties. The Ukrainian media are silent about this, because they are forbidden to write about it. See you soon.